always when something starts. I didn't skip them on Friday. In fact, I'm going to go in there tomorrow morning with some money for them. Hello.
Hi there. Can you pause the recording for a minute, please?
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another recording this month. And this time I have a past guest. This is Rosie, who is a co-author. She's now sitting for a PhD. She's told two stories in the Latinx and social work series, and she's at the vice president level now. So she's going to tell us a little bit about these few things. So, first things first, what do you, who do you help professionally?
I first want to say thank you, Ben, for inviting me again. It's always great to have, just to have great conversation and things like that. And we, run in the same circles. So thank you for inviting me again of a recap and seeing where I'm at. Uh, there's been a lot of things going on since we last did the first podcast. So one is that, as everybody knows, I'm a social worker, and my focus for the past couple 10 years plus has been in housing and behavioral health care. I am also a co-author of Latinx in Social Work Volume 1, no, Volume 2, and also Volume 3, the Mentorship Edition, and that's how
I thought it was no, you did volume one because I remember that, or was it volume two?
it was Volume 2, and then Volume.
That's right. Because volume two, I remember that you told us your immigration story, which was different from some of the other ones because you came here at a young age, and that kind of just got me hooked on kind of what the immigration system sort of looks like today. Although I'm going to now question what's going on as of the last 2 years, and I'm going to say our immigration system doesn't necessarily need a revision, but we need to stop breaking up families. Yet that's a complete separate discussion issue that I don't think we're going to bring here today.
Well, I think you got me confused, Ben, with someone else because I was born in this country, so I don't know what immigration would, look like of me experiencing it.
Yeah,
Probably my, parents did, and back in the 60s and 70s. So, for me, it was different, because I was born here, but that doesn't mean that, the races, all the isms, especially the racism doesn't exist. But with
I know a little something about that, even though I'm from the quote majority whatchamacallit, but that's only because, as the title of the podcast is, I'm on the autism spectrum. And unfortunately, let's be honest, I haven't seen as many changes as I would have liked in my lifetime, but at least we're now more openly discussing it instead of sticking a completely stupid label like mentally retarded, which I grew up with, as you did, for people on the spectrum in the 1990s. It's open now to more discussion, but would I say there's been enough changes? Nope, we're still a long way from that also.
Yeah. So with that being said, I cannot personally relate about immigration because I did not migrate to this country. I
Right.
know that my parents did come from their own countries, and that's they really have never shared that experience, and their experience was different because they came here for schooling and things like that. So everyone's family history is different. With that being said, the past 2 years has been a whirlwind because I was the senior vice president at the Institute of Community Living for 3 years. I was overseeing all their scanner site portfolios in addition to other things in the agency and working, with executives in terms of, behavioral health care and housing being, more than just consider being part of, health and how people who have stable and dignified homes and with the support services in place can thrive more and also independently without really, having to go through all the systems and things like that. With that being said, is one is that I am now an author for today's Inspire Leaders, Volume 6, that just came out April 30th, and that there is a collaboration with Fig Factor and 14 authors from different backgrounds in business and in marketing and founders. Thank you.
That's friggin' awesome. See, these are a few of my goals. And actually, your lead author and Miss Laudy, they actually gave me, even though I'm not in your direct field, they did say, as they understood, they said, if you want to give our series an endorsement in the beginning of the book, we'll definitely take you on that. But unfortunately, you're not within our
Yeah.
practice or field, so we kind of can't because you're not a social worker. I'm like, good enough for me. I just want to get something, you know, I'm not wanting to attach myself. I'm just wanting to put something in there that's published that'll eventually lead me to getting recognized, somewhere down the line while I'm doing all of this.
Yes.
So they did definitely say you can give the book an endorsement because I've read through select different stories. Yours stuck out to me because I liked it. The mentorship one, I think I'm going to let you discuss that one because the whole confusing thing about what LinkedIn and social media claims mentoring is versus what you ladies suggest that mentoring is are kind of they kind of knock into one another in a way. So, from the social work perspective, what do you consider mentoring as? Is it basically you go to someone who's more experienced in the field to be asking for like guidance, questions, and answers? Or is it coaching? Because honestly, coaching is a completely separate function from what a mentor actually is supposed to be.
Yeah, so one is that for the last edition that it was part of the Latinx and social work mentorship edition, I actually sponsored one of my mentees who you are who you are aware of and know, Pilar Bonilla, and we did a collaboration, her and I. It is there is a difference. So you have coaching, which is completely different. Coaching is, you want to be coached on different areas of life. It could be wellness, it could be career wise, it could be life. And people go through uh, different accreditations and schooling and certifications and everything that comes with it and need to be accredited from the United Coaching Federation. They have their own umbrella, and those are, range from a couple of thousands to 30, 40. With that being said, and then there's career advising, that's a whole different other area. Then you have the mentorship aspect. And like you said, yes, people can get it confused or, misinterpretation.
That's also on content creators because people who you and I have seen that are actually posting content get the two confused. But that's also what we call content marketing because since I was posting content going all the way back to the Facebook MySpace days. It's just I had to update different onto the more LinkedIn platform, and it took me a year just to understand what the heck they were, what the heck some of these people on the platform were even discussing. And then I finally realized, wait a second, you're doing content marketing. So that means you're actually selling a service that you call mentoring, or you're referring to mentoring as a course, which are completely separate things because mentoring, from what I understand, when I went into healthcare and I was learning the scheduling and patient services assistant role, that was you actually got matched with somebody at work and they kind of just walk you through what you were doing at the beginning. And I know it's also popular for other more corporate roles like web developer, data analyst, project manager, program manager, that kind of thing. So you're sitting usually with the more experienced person who either has somewhere between 5 to 20 years in the role.
Correct. So there's a difference. So mentorship, it's a professional and also like a developmental relationship. It's where, just like you mentioned, someone with more experience, connects with someone that has less experience or needs more support. They need more knowledge and encouragement. And so identify someone as your mentee, and then you have the mentor, and you want to support them and guide them either through personal or professional growth. So it's different than the coaching, career advising, and everything else, or even wellness aspects. So, really, the reality is that, like you mentioned, people kind of put it all in the same umbrella, but it's not.
It's not, thank you,
It,
because
it's not. Yeah.
Benjamin wants to knock his head against the wall every time he sees these two confused on LinkedIn. And it's like, there's a huge part of me that wants to go on some of these people who I frequently post comments on, and I'm like, you confused the two. They're two completely different things, not the same thing. But then I'm like, no, somebody's gonna basically tell me to go to hell on that comment.
Well, no, you're actually right. So the reality is that mentorship actually, as a mentor, and I've been a mentor, for different individuals throughout my career,
Without actually having to have people pay a hefty fee. Just saying.
yeah. Yes. And
We could laugh about it.
yeah, and actually, I have not, for those that I've actually mentor. Because then if you're talking about like, a mentorship program or a coach and things like that, then that's a whole different other aspect. Well, where you're actually, getting paid for a service. This was more about a connection and building a
Yeah,
relationship. So for clarity, is that a mentor helps navigate a mentee through, different challenges and obstacles. They help them to develop skills and competency. Also, like giving advice about like what career paths and opportunity, building confidence, and also more about reflection in terms of like your own experience and how, the good things, how you could, it helps you to move on in your career, and also things that have held you back and not making those decisions again. So I really, see it as.
that's sort of exactly like what
Mhm.
me and my mentor, Dan Freidenberg, actually no longer are able to be running the accountability partner service together because he was getting no money off of it. I got a client, but he didn't want that match client. So the client ended up working with me privately. And what you're describing is similar to what I'm doing, but this is what I'm doing is lower fee, but what I'm doing is I'm not coaching the person. I'm meeting with them on a monthly basis for 4 weeks, and I'm asking them, and this can be anyone, even in your field, and you can tell people that I offer this as a service because I mentioned this to you on a few occasions. I basically offer the following. I offer them structure if they're an executive. If they're looking for a job, I'll just do something like, develop a tracker for them and ask them, were you able to apply to whatever list of jobs you told me you were going to apply to last week? If you didn't, what exactly happened? And then I'll help you along the way, with figuring out what happened in your decision making last week that caused you to procrastinate, that kind of thing. And then we'll kind of work around, you know, what can you do to maybe, identify your triggers that caused you not to, and then we'll find a solution for how to structure making, something like filling out job applications fun. Because honestly, even at this point, even though I'm working at the moment, I dread doing job applications because it's like you never hear back from these things.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, in terms of the mentorship aspect, just want to be clear that it's different than coaching. It's different than, any type of like career advising. So mentorship, I keep it very simple. It's more about guidance and support. And then you have the piece of the sponsorship, right? Because people don't really talk about what sponsorship is and really how it correlates to mentorship. So I've done trainings and virtuals on mentorship and sponsorship, and really, they go hand in hand. Where, like I mentioned, in terms of
How
mentorship,
much of an investment would you say this comes to? Because that might be stuff that I'm interested in pursuing down the line, once some things get into more better order in my life. Because I can enhance on what I'm offering people, but I would probably need to do some level of an investment. So I would be interested.
Yeah, so one thing is about just want to just clarify or give more, in terms of, or explain more, better yet, in terms of sponsorship, is that it's really like as a mentor advocating for my mentees, helping them getting spaces that they would normally wouldn't be part of, recommending them for conferences or, for positions, things like that, influencing them in their career. So it does go hand in hand, the mentorship with the sponsorship. The coaching, you could help someone to develop like specific skill set, but again, that would be more for a coaching session. But when it comes to mentorship and sponsorship, I always see it as it goes hand in hand, and it helps people to grow, right? And then in addition to that, like the sponsorship helps people to gain opportunities. And it's really important when you are like an emerging leader in whatever sector you are. So when, with that being said, is like really having specific trainings that will help you in terms of the areas that you're interested, right? If you want to be a mentor, like always getting, information that's up to date in terms of areas of how to mentor, in terms of the one-on-one, if you're starting this off, communication skills, right? Emotional intelligence, what does that look like, and how to incorporate that. Social intelligence is very important. And then things that will help you in terms of brushing up your skills or acquiring new skill set. And then the sponsorship aspect really is like, and I'm going to give an example for myself that I've been in the space of nonprofit for 20 years. It's like I've built relationships throughout the nonprofit sector, whether it's in housing, mental health, behavioral health care, healthcare and HIV and AIDS, and have built relationships that are still, that I still continue to collaborate in different ways or even establish friendships, and we're still connected because of the small network of being able to bring in individuals that don't have those connections and connecting them in that sector. So it goes hand in hand with that.
So somebody like myself, since we've been friends for a couple years now, would probably be able to come to you as an example and say, obviously, if I'm not able to fit X at ICL as an example or housing solutions, you'd be able to help me figure something out because I'm also looking in the nonprofit sector, but I have more of a business oriented skill set.
Correct. So connecting you to make those connections, I would say in a shorthand. Correct. And those are some of the two organizations that I have been involved. And when you say about catching up, there, I've been also working in terms of my own business, or better yet, well, it's a business consulting firm doing housing and behavioral health care, which you probably see online, called Housing ER Consultant, and it stands for.
I've seen a little bit about that. If you want to just tell us about what that looks like, that would be cool because it's definitely something that I think many people in my audience will definitely check out at some point as the audience is growing from over 100 to wherever it goes on YouTube.
Yeah, so great. So I actually created, it was an idea that I had for a while, and I finally created an LLC about 3 years and a half ago. And basically it's a consultant firm that's two-part. One, the housing aspect of it, which is housing ER, stands for her. It doesn't really stand necessarily about me being a leader in the housing sector where there's not many social workers, especially Latinas. It really also stands for.
It's also expensive sorry to interrupt, to register an LLC in this
Correct.
state. And
Correct.
I'm doing the research now because that's the next step for me in the media and my own consulting build. But I'm like, do I really want to register here and pay up to $2,000 just to print for 6 weeks in paper? Or can I find doing the first part of it cheaper somewhere else like Wyoming and then double register in this state when money gets better as a holding company? I've been doing all kinds of research. I would like to fully register here, but $2,000 up front is like a luxury.
Nowadays. So I registered. the LLC 3 years and a half ago. I had a whole idea that, with COVID and everything, a lot of things happened. So this was really post-COVID. With that being said, Housing ER really stands for Housing Equity and Resilience. Built
That's what
on
I thought.
solutions. So we're a firm that is built on solutions. So it's two-part. First part of the firm really deals with low tax income credit for housing, providers
Oh,
that,
the
yeah, the
LITCH, I think it
LIHTC
is.
and everything. Yeah. So that's one piece because I'm a certified LIHTC. Also property management because I have done that too and have
I'm
certification.
actually trying to look for property management roles because I voluntarily did it for my last landlord who I stayed with for 9 years, where I just did basic maintenance of a property, but they're looking for like more recent experience with also the LITCH experience, which I do not have. I just took care of the landlord's property because I lived there and, did a bunch of basic maintenance stuff. So maybe that's something that we can discuss offline as well, where you can refer me, directly to somebody instead of me trying to do the application, put your name down, and then I don't hear back because you and I both know the job market is very funny nowadays.
Yeah. And if, yes. And with that being said, so you have that piece, then the real estate development aspect, also strategic planning, contract management, things that I've done in my career in housing. So that's one area there. I'm certified in all those areas. Then the
I should
second,
have you teach me some of this stuff at some point where we could both sit down and, I just kind of learn the basics from you. Even if I just knew the basics, I could just write it down when applying. I understand the basics through somebody.
yeah, and then learning, and it's interesting you say that because a lot of people are reaching out now more than ever about, hey, Rosita, I would like to like get a one-on-one with you and doing the basics and things like that, or 15-minute just call, because I need advice on certain areas in that aspect of housing and compliancy. With that being said, is that the second half has to do with professional development and also my podcast. So the second half of
Oh, yeah, you do have a
housing,
podcast. I
yeah,
completely
yeah.
forgot about that, and
It's
you should
called,
have me as a guest
yeah,
sometime.
yeah. So fostering social impact, and this was from an idea that came up in 2024 that I was seeing like the lack of, podcasters talking about issues in housing, about behavioral health care, about
Most people who do podcasts in the real estate sector, I'm in the real estate investors community on LinkedIn, they only deal with the
Mhm.
sales or investment side. I'm sure they would discuss it, but because it's very niche, like me doing autism related issues, even I just had Ombrin from all. I just had one of the biggest podcasters on LinkedIn come by my show who lives all the way in Saudi Arabia about 3 weeks ago, and we were discussing something eerily similar about both our podcasts. I told her she was the one who inspired me when she did Psychology Talks live stream podcast. I'm like, you kind of helped me look around the platform and then see that nobody was discussing autism, and mine was a complete niche also. So, even this, the idea started because nobody wanted to discuss this, and it started with kind of talking about employment part issues, but then it kind of now turns into this where I can sit down with people like yourself
Mhm.
and Madeline, Erica, people in real estate. I've had co-founders and I've had 40 something guests on this show. Granted, it hasn't monetized in the money sense yet until I started a service this year, but it's also done something else that money can't buy, which is it's gotten me 40 people that I can figure out, either opportunities with or where I need to improve, if that makes any level of sense.
Yeah, it does. So, with that being said, that's how that came to fruition. And then the other aspect is the professional leadership development, where I've been a mentor for different groups, is that I do trainings on specific topics. I also do coaching and I also do executive coaching, better yet. So, in behavioral health care and housing. So, that's the other area as well, because, a lot of people have reached out to me about wanting that level of support, and what does it look like to be able to, as a social worker who actually started boots on the ground, to become an executive, and then being able to navigate not only the space here in the tri-state area, but I've actually been able to, and been fortunate to be able to connect with people in different parts of the United States and present at national conference. I've been doing that myself, marketing and seeing where, the need is, and my niche and my commitment and passion. So that's what housing ER is really a firm. I don't want to call it a business, but it is a business firm that really is able to not only provide those level of services, but also I'm invested in returning, to, giving back to the community, especially BIPOC leaders, in ways that is affordable. Because if you see
What
now,
does that acronym stand for? Because I've
housing equity and resilience, but
no BIPOC.
oh, people of indigenous and people of indigenous and people of color. So Black,
Ah,
indigenous, people of color.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if anyone in your audience is looking to start a podcast or you yourself need additional administrative or marketing support, you know who to reach out to.
Thank you.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, or if anybody is interested in trainings for their organization, or actually executive coaching, I do provide that at an affordable
Yeah, I'll
rate.
put a post up about that for you. And if anyone in your network needs an accountability partner, I'm taking clients. I'm doing it at Basic now. And I actually am working with someone who I went to high school with as my first client. So by the end of the year, I will have 6, 7 months of pretty decent stories with him to be able to sell this. I'm not posting about it right now, not because, I don't want to, but because I figure wait till December. Then I have enough time of working with him directly that I can now go into January and say, this is what I do. This is how he started, and this is where he's off to now, which, kind of a transformation. I could do it now, but it doesn't make sense at this particular moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so that's what I've been up to since the last 2 years. Been building my consultancy, housing ER, been part of this last today's Inspire Leaders, Volume 6, met new people as co-authors in academia and business and marketing. And really been doing a lot of aspects in housing of innovation and creation of new programs, as well as you just mentioned lastly, pursuing my doctorate degree in business administration with a focus of organizational leadership. And that focus is something that I really am interested in researching, especially like you mentioned about the job market nowadays, staff retention, the culture of workplaces. And so it's much needed to have more individuals who specialize in that area to be able to, consult not only in an academic space.
It's really funny when you say work culture. It's like work culture is a buzzword thrown around to basically suggest that many businesses, nonprofits, they have a certain way they want to do things that they just don't feel like changing it. When you use the word, when everyone's like, I want a certain, I want to work here because of the work culture. I'm like, work culture with me isn't a turn on or a turn off. It is what it is. When you're focused on doing something entrepreneurially, work culture becomes less important and it becomes what role will pay me subsequent to continue to do things like what I'm doing right now, which is having conversations with you, and what am I reasonably going to be okay with? Not, do I want to work here because of their specific culture or their specific, or in this case, if you had a good mission statement, I would consider that. But that's not necessarily culture.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, culture means a lot of things for a lot of people in terms of that. So yeah, that's what I've been actually, the past 2 years, and in whatever way I can contribute to the community and yourself, I'm here. But I really like, having conversations with you, Ben. And yeah, more to come. You can follow me
Yeah.
on LinkedIn and on Instagram to see.
Thank you. That was going to be my second to last question, and you
Yeah,
just jumped ahead on
yeah,
me. And you were came prepared this time because normally I would have asked that question,
yeah,
but since I told you what we were going to be doing, you prepared for it. So
yeah.
I definitely appreciate this. And as far as the property management stuff, I'll send you my resume afterwards because it's more than updated. The other thing that I wanted to update your audience on is I just got approved to go into an IT help desk course. Now, whether I can actually get work in it is more of a secondary thing. But the what this will probably do for me is along with that data science certification is it'll help me build better business systems at this point because honestly, I just hit the decade group that I'm supposedly told by Gary V, you're still a baby if you're in your 40s. I'm like, I know you're trying to be nice about it, but not necessarily is the 40s easier.
Yeah.
They expect a lot more out of a 40-year-old. So to say that I'm still a kid is sort of sugarcoating the whole phrase. I'm young, but I'm not young like, your children's generation where they can actually take more risks. I have to be very calculated with what I do because guess what? At this point, it becomes more expensive.
Absolutely. And you need to be more intentional as well.
Yep. All right. So I'll send you the resume offline and we'll stay in
Yeah.
touch. All right. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.